and this is my channel where I talk everything books. I tell you about all the books I read, my favorites, my least favorites, why I loved them, why I didn't love them, why you should or should not read them. If you haven't watched part 1 of my second quarter wrap up, then I suggest you go watch it right now. I'll leave the link in the caption below. But basically, I have 7 books to talk to you guys about, and I'm gonna talk to you about them in the order that I read them, give you kind of the description, give you my rating, give you some content warnings, so you can know if you should read them or not. Also, I would just like to say that all the books that I'm gonna talk to you about are the books that I read in June, so I basically should be calling this my June wrap-up video. And yet, here we are. Here we are. So the first book I read in June of 2021 is The Offlimits Rule by Sarah Adams. Sarah Adams is an author that I discovered on Instagram, and she is literally the cutest human being I've ever seen on Instagram. I think she is just so adorable, so fluffy, and so lovely. If you don't already follow her, please go follow her. She has 2 sweet, adorable girls that she's a mom to, and she's a writer. So you get to follow all of her writing content. You get to be there and be aware of when she's gonna be making new releases. So all that to say, go follow Sarah Adams. Anyway, this is my first Sarah Adams book. She's a romance author. This book follows Lucy and Cooper. So this is like not necessarily a friends to lovers romance, but definitely the trope of they're not allowed to be together romance. Lucy is a single mom who is living with her brother to kind of help her get by, help her get back on her feet. And then she meets Cooper, who is her brother's best friend. So he's obviously off limits. And they immediately hit it off. And this book is just so quirky and so funny. You will be smiling the whole time. I think I read this in a matter of like 24 hours on a day off because I just loved it so much and I didn't want to put it down. Sarah Adams brings such a fresh voice to adult romance, and it's all closed door, which I love. I love finding an amazing closed door author in regards to romance that I can recommend. And yeah, I just loved it so much. Please go read it. 5 out of 5 stars. The next book I read in June of 2021 is The Maidens by Michaelides. I read The Silent Patient by the same author last year. I loved it so much. It was my favorite thriller of 2020. And honestly, this might be up there for my favorite thriller of 2021. I actually buddy read this with a couple Instagram friends, and that was a blast. But wool eyes me. He pulled the wool over my eyes. Seriously, he got me good. Woo! So basically, this follows a group therapist, right? She's a group therapist, yeah, named Mariana, who is absolutely certain that her niece's professor murdered this girl on her campus, who was her niece's roommate. You are following her through the twists and turns of trying to prove whether he did it or not. And this was so atmospheric, very, very dark academia because it takes place on a college campus. It is just shrouded, maybe that's not a good word. He interwove Greek mythology so well and so lovely. Like, I don't know Greek mythology well at all, but to kind of read that was a huge, huge blast for me. I had so much fun reading this book. And the chapters are also super short. Like, I mean, there's the beginning of a chapter. There's the end. Like, you can fly through this book because you're going to keep telling yourself, oh, just one more. Oh, just one more. Oh, just one more. I did not guess the ending at all. And that tells me that the author did a really, really good job. So 5 out of 5 stars. You guys, I just finished The Maidens by Michaelides. I am so shook right now. It was hard because I was like, The Silent Patient was so good last year. Probably my favorite thriller, if not my top 3 in my top 3 favorite thrillers of 2020. And so I was like, how is this gonna fill the shoes? In the last 30 pages, oh my gosh. I could not sit down. I was pacing like a mad woman. My mouth was like a gate. Every 2 paragraphs, I was just shook, shocked, shooketh. It might not be for everybody. But let me tell you, this dark academia thriller was for me. It was for me. And I'm so glad I read it. The other thing I was gonna say is that I had probably two main theories about who it was. And I was dead wrong about both, like dead wrong. He got me. Ooh, he got me good. Got me good. The next book I read, I actually listened to? I pointed at my mouth when I said that. I listened to it, and it is called Shipped by Angie Hockman. This was a romance. It was an enemies to lovers romance, and I had a really good time listening to this story. Basically, it follows Henley and Graham, who both work for the same cruise line company, and they work in social media marketing. You guys, that is my job, and that was so fun to read about. It was so fun. This dang fly is back. If you didn't watch part one, this fly was here and now he's back, which was so fun to read about because that's what I do. And they are made by their boss as they're both going up for this promotion to go on the cruise line together and experience it. And soon, when you see them together, you realize maybe they don't actually hate each other. Maybe. This book was honestly mostly closed-doored, and it was so cute, so laugh out loud. I did end up only rating it 3 stars because the ending was not as much about the romance to me as it was about the job, which was fine, and it ended up being really enjoyable to read about. It's just not necessarily the ending I was hoping for, so maybe I'm being a bit of a snob, but I did really enjoy it, so I definitely recommend it. And as you can see by the look on my face, I did not enjoy this next book that I'm about to tell you about. The next book I attempted to read was Every Value Break by Peter Swanson. I've only read one other Peter Swanson book, and that was 8 Perfect Murders back at the beginning of the year. Didn't love that one. It unnecessarily spoiled a ton of classic mysteries for no reason. But this book was basically about a girl who is engaged to be married, and I'm embarrassed to even talk about this premise, honestly. If you have kids in the room, maybe don't listen to this next part with them. But basically, it's about this girl who cheats on her fiance 2 weeks before her wedding, and then the guy basically starts showing up back in her life, maybe threatening her. Honestly, I didn't listen that far. I think I listened to about 8 chapters, and then I DNF'd it. I did not finish it, if you don't know what DNF stands for. Did not finish. I don't understand why it's so necessary to talk so deeply and intricately about a character's intimate history, if you know what I mean. It was not fun, not interesting, and because of it, I did not care about where the mystery was gonna go. I didn't care. I didn't even care. And I do not recommend this book. I knew I would never recommend this book even if I finished it because of the first 8 chapters. I shouldn't have even read it that far. I should have DNF'd it way sooner. But yeah, did not enjoy it. Maybe Peter Swanson and I don't get along in regards to writing and reading. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm gonna stop talking now. On a more positive note, the next book I read is Successful Christian Parenting by John MacArthur. It took me a while to get through this one, and I did give it 4 stars. I hate even like rating books like this, but I did. I gave it 4 stars, only because I was bored. Maybe that's bad. But there were so many good and powerful tips and messages woven throughout this book. And while I can see why not everyone would agree with him, I guess I wouldn't know. This is my first John MacArthur book. Feel free to message me or email me with questions about why I think some people might not be into this book. For me, I can overlook things that I potentially don't agree with and still enjoy it. So overall, a very, very good parenting book. I have been making it a goal of mine to read more parenting books this year. And so this one is the first under my belt. And I have a couple more in the queue, so I'm excited to get to those. Next, I finally read Murder on the Orient Express by Agatha Christie. This is a classic mystery. And I did already know the twist, but it did not make it any less fun for me. I did partially listen to it while I was reading it. I actually read it with my eyeballs and listened to it at the same time. And that just kind of helped jump over some of the French for me, because it's really hard for me to hop over that. But oh, it was so fun. I had a blast. It's definitely more of like a cozy, slow burn mystery, not necessarily a thriller. I did know that going in, but I gave it 4 stars anyway because I just had so much fun reading it. And even if you've read it before, it's just one of those that you can honestly go back and read again. If you don't know what Murder on the Orient Express is about, what rock are you living under? There have been multiple movies made about it. I'm just kidding. I'm just teasing. So basically it's about Agatha Christie's famous detective. I'm not even going to try to pronounce it because I can't speak French, people. So Hercule Poirot. Mom, don't make fun of me. My mom's going to make fun of me watching this. She's going to laugh. She's going to giggle at me. And he is traveling on the Orient Express. And while he is traveling on the Orient Express, one of the passengers winds up murdered. Dun, dun, dun. Hence, Murder on the Orient Express. The detective, the famous detective from Agatha Christie, is interviewing all of the guests, all of the travelers on the Orient Express, trying to figure out who committed the murder and why. And it was just so fun. It was a good glimpse into humanity, honestly. If you've read it, you know what I mean. But I really enjoyed it. I don't always love Agatha Christie mysteries, but this was one that was like, felt like I needed to read it. It's a classic. So yeah. And the final book I read in June of 2021 is The Guest List by Lucy Foley. This was my first book in a series, which hopefully I'll be posting that vlog soon, of what is called Summerween, which is basically an excuse of a readathon to read a bunch of thrillers and a bunch of fun, scary books. And so hopefully I'll get that uploaded for you guys soon. But The Guest List by Lucy Foley is basically about a wedding party that takes place on an island. And you're going from all different points of view. Somebody at the end of the wedding winds up dead, and you have to figure out who it is and who did it and why. I only gave this book 3 stars. This book is really, really highly hyped, but I did not like any of the characters. None of them. The guys, I've actually seen this in a few other reading vlogs on BookTube that agree with me that the men in this book are just gross and not fun to read about. I was intrigued by the mystery. I think that's why I ended up finishing it. But overall, it was like, ew, no, I don't want to read about these bullies of men who just like tear people down for their benefit, I guess. And there was some explicit content that I don't think other people would enjoy because I didn't enjoy it. I had to skip over some things, if you know what I mean. And so it was a decent thriller, but all of the characters, and I know this was probably part of the purpose of the story. I know that was probably part of Lucy Foley's purpose, but I just really didn't like 90% of the characters. And I feel bad. I feel really bad. Probably what bumped it up to a 3 for me was the ending. Otherwise, it probably would have been a 2-star book. So, I mean, read it if you want. It was on Reese Witherspoon's Hello Sunshine Book Club pick for however long ago. But it was not my favorite thriller ever. And there you have it. I only had 1 DNF this month. Almost 2, but 1 all in all. So that's kind of good. Hopefully you enjoyed this wrap up from June of 2021, all the books I read in June. If you liked this video, please give it a like. If you made it this far, leave me a comment of 1 book that you're hoping to read in the month of August or September. I don't know when you're seeing this. Just leave me a comment of what book you're hoping to read next. That's all I'm trying to say. If you look forward to seeing more content from me, go ahead and subscribe. It would mean so much to me. And God willing, I will see you in the next video. Bye.